Hey there, it's Mia. If you can't find anything to watch tonight, if out of hundreds of movies you still feel empty inside, then take a seat with me for a bit. I just sat down like that myself, in front of a bright screen with an endless list. But not a single title could hold me for more than a few seconds. The room was quiet, just the hum of the AC and pale light casting on the white wall. And I suddenly turned on the TV, not to watch anything, but just to hear some sound, to break the silence in the room. Then I thought of Grandma, thought of the stories she used to tell, about a time when TV only had a few channels like NBC, CBS, yet the whole family watched together. When she talked, her eyes lit up like an oil lamp, sparkling with memories I'd never lived through, but somehow felt so close. I never used to get it. How just two channels could bring so much joy? And now, I have a whole library of shows, every genre, every country. But sometimes, I can't seem to find the joy in any of it. TVs back then were as big as refrigerators, sweetie, she laughed. So heavy. Took two grown-ups just to lift one. The screen was barely bigger than a photo frame, black and white, a little blurry, with flickering lines whenever it rained or got humid. You had to turn it on 10 minutes early, just to let the tubes warm up enough for the picture to show. And switching channels? That meant twisting a knob, click, click, and then waiting. A whole family would sit in the living room with that old green striped carpet. Mom sat in her rocker, knitting a long scarf for winter. Dad stood by the antenna in the corner, adjusting it while yelling if anyone walked by. It was just clear. Don't move, you're messing it up. Us kids, fighting to sit closer to the screen. Even though the closer you sat, the blurrier and brighter it got. Every night, it was one news broadcast and one show. If it was a movie, it was usually an old rerun, westerns or Looney Tunes cartoons. No remote control, no subtitles, no rewinding or fast-forwarding. But everyone watched, and everyone remembered. Every line, every silly scene, became a joke people laughed about for days. Grandma said her family had a tall-legged Philco back then. The screen bulged out and often got fuzzy on rainy nights. Color TVs were rare. Only well-off families could afford them. She said, RCA had just released the first models, and they cost more than a motorbike. She remembered that in the early 50s, networks were still testing color broadcasts. But old TVs couldn't decode it, so all you saw was a white screen. They used to call it color no one could see. She chuckled and shook her head. It wasn't until 1965 when NBC started airing primetime programs in full color that color truly entered American homes. But our family stuck with black and white for a long, long time. I'm living in a time where a single tap brings the whole world to my screen. My TV is so smart it can hear my voice, guess what I like, and recommend everything. Netflix, YouTube, Disney+, Amazon, everything is just there. With just one finger, I can jump from New York to Tokyo, from a French romance to a Korean game show. But there's one thing that no technology on earth can replace. It's someone sitting beside you, and the silence in the room becomes too loud. There's no grandma saying, "This show has more ads than content." No dad glancing over, as if to ask, "What do you think will happen next?" No one to lean on when the main character bursts into tears. No more popcorn crackles or soda cans clinking on the coffee table. as the whole family watches together. Now I can watch anything, anytime. But I can also stop, anytime. Start something, stop halfway, jump to something else. No one notices. No one asks. Some nights, I open 3 different shows, each one barely 10 minutes, and I turn them all off. Not because they're bad, but because no one's there to feel they're good with me. The screen turned completely white. Then a message appeared. We are experiencing technical difficulties. The whole family went, "Oh," then fell silent. But no one got up. No one went anywhere else. Mom turned and asked, "How about we tell ghost stories?" Dad nodded, but only half a story, so the kids won't be too scared to sleep. So, amid the static hum and dim light, they began to tell stories. From Mrs. Mary next door, who swore she saw a UFO behind the chicken coop, to Mr. Jenkins, who fell asleep in his car and thought he was kidnapped. Each person added a line, a laugh. And then, when the TV came back on, they didn't turn the movie back on. They sat for another half hour just to finish the story. Grandma stopped there, just sipped her tea and softly said, "Sometimes, when the TV turns off, that's when the family truly opens up." She gently set her cup down, eyes still gazing somewhere far away. Back then, we only had one TV, so every night, everyone would sit together. She said, maybe it wasn't because the shows were great, but because everyone knew if they didn't sit there, they might miss something that wasn't just on the screen. Mom kept knitting as she listened. Dad folded his newspaper, but didn't take his eyes off the screen. And the kids scrambled for every seat closest to the TV, as if sitting closer helped them understand the story better. One time, the whole family watched a sad movie. When it ended, no one said a word. Just the sound of Dad refilling the kettle and Mom's knitting needles clicking away. No one spoke, but she remembered it clearly. That silence, she could even hear Lori sigh. Back then, movies didn't have subtitles, she chuckled. But somehow, everyone understood. Then she said, almost like wrapping up a memory, "In my whole life, no matter where I went or what I watched, I never felt that feeling again. That feeling of sitting beside loved ones, in a quiet room, all looking the same way." I still turn on the TV every night, not to watch anything, but just to hear something familiar, just to fill the silence. The screen's glow spills across the wall, casting my shadow all the way to the window. No scent of popcorn, no clink of glasses on the coffee table. No one complaining when I laugh too loud. Just me. And the cold echo of a show I don't even remember the name of. I remember once, she was sitting next to me when I was just a kid. The TV was already in color by then, but she'd still mumble, "TV these days is too bright." The fuzzy old images felt warmer. I used to laugh and think she was just old-fashioned. Now I get it. It's not that today's TVs are brighter, it's that our hearts are dimmer. It's not that the images are clearer, it's that our eyes don't meet as often. Some nights, I miss the sound of Grandpa's tongue click, the soft cough from Grandma, a gentle scolding. "Why are you sitting so close to the screen? You'll hurt your eyes." Now I can sit anywhere and watch anything. She once told me about the first color TV in her neighborhood. Everyone came to watch. She pointed at my sleek flat screen and softly said, "This screen is crystal clear, but it lacks the warmth of the old days." She said it was 1965 when NBC announced it would broadcast nearly all its primetime programming in color. My grandfather, a tech enthusiast, decided to buy the first RCA-compatible color TV in the neighborhood. The thing was huge, like an oven, with 2 rows of knobs, and when you turned it on, the NBC peacock spread its wings, as if magic was about to begin. Back then, only NBC broadcasted fully in color. CBS and ABC had limited color programming, just a few shows a week. But even one colorful evening got the whole neighborhood talking. She remembered the first night they watched I Dream of Jeannie. Jeannie's pink costume, so vivid, the kids were left speechless. Then came the Andy Griffith Show, with its trees, skies, and dusty roads bursting with life. Finally, not in gray. In the mornings, she never missed Captain Kangaroo, a gentle show with an old man, funny puppets, and simple, kind lessons. Later, when color cartoons became more common, she loved watching The Jetsons, A Family in the Sky, and The Flintstones, a prehistoric family with a stone car, a stone fridge, and of course, a stone TV. She paused for a moment, then smiled. When those shows started airing in color, it felt like the whole world got a little softer. She said, when those shows aired in color, it felt like the whole world became kinder. Then she looked at me, eyes distant. Back then, no one could fast forward, and no one watched alone. Everyone huddled close, like we were afraid to miss the magic that just appeared. I don't think I'm really missing an old TV or complaining about Netflix, YouTube, or TikTok. I just think maybe back then we had less, but felt full. And now we have everything, yet still feel empty. It's not that the technology is bad, it's how we use it, to fill a void instead of filling each other. Back then, watching TV was an excuse to gather close. Now it's still TV, but it sends everyone into a different room. I don't blame this era. I just feel sad that things got so easy. We forgot how to cherish what was simple. I remember Grandma once said, back then, the most precious part of a TV show wasn't the show. It was the person watching it with you. I still turn on the TV every night, an old habit, to drown out the silence. But sometimes I mute the sound, just sit there, watching the screen fade, and hear her voice again in my memory. Not everything is better just because there's more of it, my dear. Sometimes less means warmer. I don't know if TV will stay the same in the future. Maybe we'll be living inside 3D screens with VR glasses or AI that knows how we feel before we do. But I still hope that someone out there will hold on to one old memory. A room with a black and white screen, people sitting close together, and laughter bursting out from something wonderfully simple and unexpected. Thank you for staying all the way to the end of this little story. Maybe Grandma's time has passed, but if tonight you're watching TV just to feel less alone, then maybe you'll understand why she once said, I hope you sleep well in a room with a gentle light and a quiet memory smiling softly inside you. Now, I'm going to play some soft jazz.
sleep.